Whoa, back on YouTube. And we're going to try to keep this one short, catchphrase, but we'll see how this goes. This one's tough. This is a sad video, content-wise, but, facts of life. And I thought there were some messages here in this story I wanted to share about, sadly, my dog. We had to put him down this summer. I have had two dogs, but my buddy Sam, he is no longer with us, and I'll share a bit of the story, but I think going through pictures of him got me thinking about gear and messages and things I wanted to talk to. So it's been busy for anybody who, even if you do follow my channel, I've been missing in action. We had our second baby about a year ago. He just turned 2 weeks ago. So it's been crazy. If you've got kids, you get it. Not a lot of time to shoot and much less time to actually vlog about it. So there's been a lot of changes. As with all things in my world, there's gear changes. But yeah, we're not going to go too far into that today. Today, I'm going to take you on a journey through my Lightroom catalog, and we're going to look at a few things. And we're going to talk about one theme. And my thinking today is why gear really doesn't actually matter and why AI can't replace you. On the AI front, AI is amazing. I use it a lot. I use it for a lot of different things, but AI is not going to ever be able to capture a moment the way a photo can. And that's the way photos have been used since the camera was invented. News, documentary, emotions. And I find it interesting as a guy who's addicted to gear, addicted to the chase. I'm bored. I'm always researching what I want to shoot. I've started a YouTube channel about it. But now that I have kids and now that I've lost my first pet as an adult, when you look back at it, I'm not thinking about what camera did I shoot this on. Was this full frame? Was this Micro Four Thirds? Was this a phone? I certainly see the difference between what are snapshots and what were thoughtful photos. But you could do that on anything. You could do that on a 2 megapixel digital camera or a film camera. Any of that stuff is there. And you'll see there's some differences. Obviously, there's some image quality crutches and moments. But, I haven't even done this with my kids. This is just a couple of pictures with my pets. And I think it's interesting for me to look at. You might find it boring, but if you don't, I don't know. If you're here for my rambling, this is what it is. So let's get over into Lightroom in 1, 2, 3. Here we go. Okay. So we're going to run through these photos very quickly, and I mean quickly. We're just going to zip through them and tell a bit of a story. So this is Sam. This is my cat, Buddy, and this was Cole. Can't see him. 2 of these animals are now deceased, sadly. My ex and I, we had some pets. Cole was my cat. I got him from... I adopted him from some friends who weren't able to keep him, and my ex and I, we had 3 cats at the time, and then we bought a house, and we bought Sam. We bought him, this was 2014, we got him as a puppy, and this picture was taken very shortly after that, because a couple months after we got Sam, my ex and I parted ways. So had a house, ended up selling the house, but Sam was always my idea. He was my dog. There was really no question about who was keeping Sam. My ex kept Buddy. He was really her cat, and Cole had been my cat before we met. And these are just some pictures. These are dumb pictures that I had on my cell phone. These mean nothing. These are terrible snapshot pictures. But they do mean something to me because it's interesting to look back, and this is my point. AI can't create these terrible cell phone pictures in a house that I haven't owned in a decade, in a different life, as a different person. But I like looking back and seeing my animals, especially the ones who aren't with us anymore. And there's Grumpy Buddy. He always looked like that. This cat looked like a frying pan met his face. And there's Sam. He is my sweet baby boy. I raised him from the day we could take him home. I always knew I wanted this dark red retriever. It's funny, he kind of matched the color of the walls. But yeah, these are the cell phone pictures. So then shortly after, this is where now Sam and I have moved to Toronto, and this is probably actually still on a cell phone, but it's outside, starting to look better. And it's funny because this is not a good picture, but it could have been if I had any interest in photography back then. I could have had a nicer angle, bit closer, small in frame, clearly popular back then. Just taking Sam on a walk, just curious. I was probably moping here in bed before I moved. I guess that shot outside was before I moved. probably moping here. He was a skinny boy. But I would come home from work. My life was all bent out of shape. I didn't know what was happening. And there was my boy. And, there was so much. It was hard because he was a new puppy and, he would chew stuff and he wasn't used to being on his own. But it was nice having him there as my buddy. And you'll notice both of his eyes look great here because shortly after, Sam developed a really nasty cataract and spent most of his life only able to see out of one eye. This is our backyard. He escaped from that yard once. There was under a blanket. Now I've moved to Toronto, so I'm keeping tabs on this through the pictures. There's one of my best friends and music collaborator, and he had come over to my apartment in the city to make sure I was on the up and up. And Sam loved Drew. Drew would take Sam a few times when I needed to do something and wasn't sure how to handle a dog. There's Sam after Walk in the Rain. Now here's the first photo I actually kind of want to discuss. This is terrible image quality, but this was our third cat. This was Oliver. And I remember I saw a cat on the front of a cat food bag. And it was like a Maine Coon, I think. And I decided I wanted one. And then we found this flat-faced version of a cat. And Oliver was a very cool cat, very grumpy cat. And sadly, he passed not too long before Sam, actually, earlier this year. My toddler came out, and one morning, Oliver was just curled up on a chair and had just died overnight. He'd never been sick. He was about 13 or 14 years old, but I love this photo. Every photo up till now has been a memory. This is a photo where the image quality is terrible. This was on, maybe I topaz this, I don't know. But this was on a cell phone, inside interior light. And again, this would have been taken. I don't know if there's a date. What did we do? What did we do? I don't know if there's a date on this. 2016. So 8 years ago, almost 9 years ago. So cell phone technology certainly come a long way since here. But yeah, I like the pose. Again, I'm not saying this is a journalistic award-winning photo, but as a memory, this is when I put it this way, when I picture my cat and I think of my grumpy old buddy, and I close my eyes, I see this picture. AI can't do that. And I don't think I care that the image quality is not great. I don't think of can I see every strand of fur on his face? I just remember my cat, and that's the way I remember him, and that's the picture in my brain. So where do we get back? Same apartment. There's Sam and Cole. Cole was such a good boy. Big snaggletooth. Cole passed away a long time ago. He was pretty old, and he had some kidney problems. And this is right around the time Sam probably started figuring out he had a cataract. Crazy boy. This was when he got neutered and he really hated the cone. It's another great example of a picture, just his complete derpy looking face, and there's Oliver in the background there. Just his super derpy face. He was terrified of the cone. As soon as you put it on, he would just sit in place, and he would literally sit on the floor and just pee and sit in it because he was so afraid of the cone. Now I wonder in hindsight if maybe his cataract had already started and he was struggling to see, and then the cone freaked him out. But he only had it on a couple days, and this is Sam. This is when I was getting into studio lighting. Now, what camera is this? This is funny because Sam's always been my image quality guinea pig, because Frank doesn't like to sit still, and Sam would generally sit where you told him to. The JPEG, this doesn't tell me what this was from. I guess I don't know. We'll figure it out. These were Fuji pictures for sure. So this is our property where we live now. This is kind of the edge of our property. I always wish the dogs could be off leash, but they don't listen. Our fault. We didn't train them enough for that, but yeah, their recall's bad, so they would go off running. But yeah, they never ran away, but this was before when we were still trying it. This is Sam inside, just playing around. There we go. So that was a Fuji as well. And this is a JPEG. I don't know. Some of these files I recovered from somewhere. See, this is also Fuji, but that's starting to look certainly cleaner. It's not perfect, but that's inside and not great light. But yeah, I mean, I think that's the thing. Like, if I'm not looking for camera models, I don't know that I really care. All these are unedited. I don't know why I shot them in JPEG. This was like when this was my first camera. I was learning how to take pictures. There's my my toddler, so when he was first born, and there's Sam. Funny story, Sam was such a teddy bear, but I think you can see now he started to have a cataract. I think the kids kind of freaked him out. So he was certainly never aggressive towards them, but he didn't like having kids come poke at him, and he would kind of avoid them. Whereas Frank is kind of a spazzy dog. We'll come back to this in a second. Frank is a spazzy dog. Again, this is a bad cell phone picture. But the kids can do anything to Frank, and he's super, super chill. This is right after we moved in. We ripped out that ugly carpet on the stairs and did some work. But again, those are our two boys. So this is where we get into like actual cameras. So this is the Sony RX10 Mark IV, and I remember taking this picture. And it's funny because I remember taking this photo and this is the picture I think that made me sell this camera, because I zoomed in and I'm like, it's just not sharp enough. I'm like, the detail in the fur, it's just not there. And now that my buddy's gone and he's not with us anymore, I love this picture. I would crop out the edge a little bit here. Again, that's pretty much it. But like, I really like this. It's this is like, this perfectly sums up Sam out in the snow, exasperated, just posing while I do my thing. I might make this the cover photo for this story. So what else do we have? Here's my toddler when he was a baby. There's Frank. Sam getting a little rowdy. I remember this lens. What camera did I have this on? I think this was on the Fuji too. Yeah, I bought this lens when Sigma first came out with X-mount stuff. I bought this. I hated this lens. I found this lens was not sharp. It was like full of fringing. Even the colors, like nothing looks great here. But again, if that's all I had, like, I love this moment. Like, this is a picture I want forever. Like, Sam, he's a pretty old guy here, and he's, when he was outside rolling around in the grass, he was happy. And I will always be happy that, I didn't mean for him to spend his puppy years cooped up in an apartment, because when my ex and I bought him, we had a house, and that, life changed. So I'm glad that even though he had to spend some years as an apartment dog, he ended up, as a country boy with a big yard to run around and do. He was kind of too lazy to run around by the time we moved here, but he had almost 5 years out here, and they were good years. Not a good photo. This would have been over on Nikon on the Sigma 20mm, and actually that's a pretty sharp lens. But yeah, that is that's not the way to photograph a dog with a long nose. Still kind of funny though. I mean, I would never delete any of this. This is an accident. There's my toddler, and there's like Sam coming to sniff. So like, I think that's a really fun picture actually. This I was testing. I don't know if this was after I blew out my knee and this went in the lake, but this was the 500 f4 from Sigma. This looks terrible actually, but this was dark. It wasn't that high ISO. Maybe this is when I was still worried if the lens wasn't sharp or not. But again, I mean, you can see I just used to take Sam out on the deck and take pictures, and I guess that's one of my regrets is I wish I had more pictures like this and less pictures like this. I wish when I was testing gear that I would have just went out and played with my dog in the yard and captured moments of him playing instead of asking him to sit so I could test critical sharpness on fur up close. But it makes me more thankful for stuff like this. This is the Z9 and the Sigma 135. Really love that combo. That's both dogs wrestling, and my toddler when he just learned to walk. Quite the outfit. There's another image test. I don't know. Oh, this is Nikon on the 120 to 300 2.8. Actually pretty sharp, but again, like, he's so bored. I bet he did so many fun things that day, and all I wanted to know was, is this lens sharp? And of course, I mean, I'm not saying lens tests are a waste of time. I'm saying that when your photography pursuit turns into only really caring about like the technical merits of gear, I think we're missing the point. So yeah, these are a bunch of tests I did with that 120 to 300. It's a cool lens, too heavy. Wouldn't buy it again. I think this was with a teleconverter on that same lens. But now we're getting into, okay, so this is when I switched to micro 4/3. This is the 10 to 27 inside. And it's funny because I sold this lens because I didn't like the bokeh. I didn't think it blurred out backgrounds enough. I didn't like the noise performance of Micro Four Thirds as much as I wish. But again, in hindsight, if this is all I had, I'd be very, very happy. And you'll see here, my favorite pictures of my boy are on Micro Four Thirds with these next couple of lenses. So actually, this is the 200 2.8, and this actually was posed. So this was not an image quality test. I had this purple bush beside my house, and I wanted to try to get this as the bokeh. And I knew Frank was there was no world where Frank was going to sit in front of, where he was going to sit in front of that. It was never going to happen. But good boy Sam did, although you can see he got a little lazy. He laid down. He was a husky boy as he got older. He's just sitting down in the grass. And actually, I have better photos. I'll see, maybe I can interject them here. Because I took some on the 75 1.8, but they're not in my Lightroom. I think I have them on my phone. But the 200 2.8 actually, I mean, it's funny because that's 400 millimeters equivalent on Micro Four Thirds. So you need to have some space to be able to shoot headshots like that. But if you do have the space, I mean, that is a very good looking portrait. I mean, it's very sharp, really nice compression. There's Frank. So Frank is the man of the house now. This is the 1025 before I sold it. That's my son was still scratching his face. That's the baby before he had a haircut. He's only probably 6 months or so here. Sam was alive during this picture. I don't know where he was. He was probably eating grass in the corner. And then this is the Bokeh King. This is finally on Lumix, the 105 1.4, which I've sold because it was way too heavy. But holy smokes, looking at some of the pictures out of that lens is just crazy. They look so good. Yeah, it is one of those lenses where sometimes you look at pictures and it makes you kind of want it again. But then it's like it's so shallow that like you're already losing his forehead, and like even you've missed his eye because the Lumix autofocus is solid, but it doesn't always get it. And on something that shallow, if you miss, you miss. But this is a shot. This was not an image quality test either. This was planned. I could see the bokeh in the light, and I was trying to get portraits, and I guess Sam wasn't feeling it. These are image quality tests for sure. Although, dang, yeah, that 200 she's sharp, all right, looks good. But yeah, I think that's the long and the short of it. That's what I wanted to talk about today. I've been thinking about making this video for a long time. It happened because I found these pictures just going back through my library, trying to remember my buddy. But that's the sad thing. My whole library, I have 52 pictures of my dog. I'm sure there's more on cell phones, and my wife has some. But I've only got 52 pictures, and how many of those are just like throwaway image quality tests? And a couple of those, there's a couple, like I said, that it's funny. My favorite image quality portrait was shot with the worst camera, the Sony RX10, and at least that's like a nice picture of my dog. And the snow's pretty, so I'm glad that exists. But it gets you thinking. I think if you're here because you like cameras, and if you're watching my silly channel because I ramble about gear, I'm trying to find new things to ramble about next year. I think I have some ideas. I'm sure it won't be as popular as clickbait raging about what's a good or bad lens. And by all means, I believe there are good and bad lenses. I make gear decisions because ultimately I do want gear that gets me the best quality of something that I can get if I'm going to take the picture. I'm not saying we should stop pursuing quality. I'm saying we should stop only considering quality and remember that the moments you're capturing are more important than what you're capturing them on. So that's my message. That's it. And I'm going to try to be back soon. Thanks for watching, and hug your pets, hug your kids. I don't know, hug your neighbor or something. Hug somebody. Have a great Christmas.